Welcome back, everyone. So today I want to do another response to Derek from Derek's Horror Corner. Go check out his channel on the top 10 best horror franchises. And out of all of these franchises, I'm going to say whenever I get to this certain franchise, there's one film and one franchise that I have not seen. So because it's so out of print and so hard to find, but every other film in this series of franchises in this list I'm going to do, I have seen every single one except for one movie. So just pointing that out before I talk about my rankings for the best horror franchises, in my opinion. So my number 10 would be the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. Now, it's more, and I'm going to say this about every franchise on this list, is more on like entertainment value as opposed to like whether a movie's good or great or not or whatever. I usually don't care that way about horror movies because they're horror movies. They're supposed to be just entertaining for the most part. So the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, which is my number 10, I think the reason why I put it on here is because I truly love the first one. I think that is a really, really fun and infinitely rewatchable slasher movie. And I think the second film is really, really incredibly bad, but so incredibly bad it's good. Like, it's got so many incredible moments in it that blow me away just how insane that movie is. I love part 2. And the only one in this franchise that I hate is Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, which is truly horrific because it's just a literal, like, piece of nothing. Like, there's nothing in it that I could find that I loved at all about it. I thought it was awful. I thought that Ricky is back in the third one, but it's not like Ricky. He's mute. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't even wear a Santa outfit. It's so stupid. The kills are stupid. I don't remember them being even violent. It's just, and that's what I go in for these type of slashers. So 3 is awful, and then 4 and 5 are bad too, but they're more watchable. Like 4 and 5, I do give them credit for doing a different thing. They did kind of a Christmas anthology thing, kind of like what Halloween did, except for these went direct to video, so they made 2 of them. And Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 is about a coven of witches who are kind of haunting this character, and I like that a lot. I think that's really cool. And 5 is about this toy maker who makes a human boy toy, and it's like, and he's got like killer toys, and it's really bad, but it's entertaining. So, and Silent Night, the remake, which I actually just watched last night for the first time, was solid. Like, it was a solid remake. It's not really a remake because it's just about a killer Santa with a couple references to Silent Night, Deadly Night, like lines, but it didn't feel like a remake really at all. It's just a Killer Santa movie, but I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a solid remake, question mark. So Silent Night, Deadly Night is my number 10. And my number 9 would be the Conjuring franchise. Now, this is a franchise where, out of a subgenre of horror that I think is alright, like exorcism, possession type of movies, these stand above the rest. Like, these truly are effective. All 5 of these movies I think are good. The only one I thought was just okay was The Nun. Oh, I guess Annabelle, the first Annabelle, I thought was okay too, but I love The Conjuring 1 and 2, and I loved Annabelle Creation. I thought that all 3 of them have such incredible ways of maneuvering scares in this type of movie. Like, they do it in a way where it seems unique. It doesn't seem like it's ham-fisted like a lot of these stupid possession movies, and I like that The Conjuring stands out. And even though, like, The Nun and Annabelle 1 are kind of like just okay, they're not that great, but still, this is a franchise that has a pretty alright track record, and I do love a lot of these movies, so that's why The Conjuring is my number 9. Now, my number 8, which is kind of low for a lot of people, I think, but the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, I do enjoy a lot. There's not one I hate at all in this franchise. I don't hate any of them. I think that there are some way better than others, but I think that this has a lot of great ones as well. Like, a lot of great... The first one is great, like everybody says, it's one of the best horror movies ever. I love 2, I love 3, I like 4 a lot. 5 and 6, I'm just like on the fence about. And then New Nightmare, I love. New Nightmare is actually my favorite out of all of them. And Freddy vs. Jason I think is awesome, and I think that the remake is just like 5 and 6, where it's like it's got some okay things about it, but it's really just passable like remake. It's not anything like awful, but it's just passable. So the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, I do like a majority of them, and the other ones, even though they're not that great, I think I can still watch them a lot more than a lot of other films. So if I watch them all in a franchise marathon, of course, not on their own, but like all of these films I could watch together in a marathon and not get pissed on any of them. So yeah, that's why the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is my number 8. And my number 7 would be the Scream franchise. Now, Scream 1 and 2 I love. I think they're incredible. I think that they did the meta jokes in a way where I do really love the first 2 movies. I think they're great. I think that they are effective. I think Sidney Prescott is one of the best final girls ever. I think all the characters are so likable and interesting in the first 2. So I love the first 2. And then Scream 3, I am really mixed on. I don't hate it, but I don't love it in any way. But I think that it's got some okay things to it, but I don't think it's that great. Scream 4, I like more than 3. I like the killer more in 4 than 3. And I like Sidney Prescott throughout all of these, but I felt like 3 and 4 dwindled down. Like 3 became, to me, kind of like a parody of the other movies. Like they're on a set of a movie within the movie. I thought it was like Urban Legends Final Cut, where it's like you're doing a movie within a movie thing, and it's kind of just, I don't know, like it doesn't work for me that well. And Scream 4 is more of a remake of the first one, basically, and they even say that in the movie. But I like the killer reveal and what the killer is and how horrible the killer is in Scream 4, so I do love the Scream franchise, despite like thinking 3 is okay and 4 I like a little more than 3, but it's still not amazing. It's just all right. So the Scream franchise I think is really watchable and really fun. So that's why Scream is my number 7. And my number 6 would be, this is pseudo horror and pseudo action. Like it's not completely horror, but the Alien franchise is my number 6. On the basis alone that the first 2 are on here, like 2 of the best movies ever made, Alien and Aliens, like incredible. Aliens is literally, that and Speed are my favorite action movies ever. I love those 2 movies in terms of action. So I love the first 2 Alien movies. I think Alien 3 is okay. I love the ending. I thought that everything else was boring, or I thought that it was disrespectful to the other ones. Alien Resurrection is bad, but it's watchable. Prometheus and Alien Covenant I liked a lot, not as much as the first 2, but I think that they're good. I think that they're solid. I think that Alien vs. Predator is really a fun sequel, but Alien vs. Predator Requiem is one of the worst horror sequels ever, I think. I think it's just awful. So it's a mixed bag on the Alien franchise, but I feel like there's more hits than misses for me, even though the first 2 don't compare with the other ones, because the first 2 are incredible and the other ones are just okay or bad. But the sequels that I think are good, like Alien Covenant or Prometheus, I think that they stand up more, and I think that they're still interesting, great watches. So for me personally, I really like them a lot. So that's why the Alien franchise is my number 6. And my number 5 would be the Sleepaway Camp franchise, and this is the movie I was talking about, the franchise I was talking about, where I have not seen Return to Sleepaway Camp, which is really rare. The DVD is like $50 on Amazon. There's no way to find it anywhere on streaming, so I haven't seen Return to Sleepaway Camp, even though I've heard it is god-awful. But I'll see for myself if I think that, but I hear that it's just god-awful. But Sleepaway Camp, the first 3 movies, the first one is one of my favorite slashers ever. I love it. I love everything about it. I think the ending is incredible. I think the performances are so purposefully bad, it seemed like, and the tone is so out there that it makes this movie so incredibly memorable, the first Sleepaway Camp. And Sleepaway Camp 2, I think, is almost just as memorable as the first one, because I love Pamela Springsteen as Angela in that movie. She has such a great personality and charisma in that movie that she is one of the most fun killers in any slasher movie. Like, she is so entertaining. Such a sweet character too, even though she's horrible. Like, she's a killer, but you root for her in a lot of ways. Like, it's funny. So I love her in Sleepaway Camp 2. And Sleepaway Camp 3 is alright. It's like it's like they did everything great with 2, and then 3, which were filmed back to back. 3 was just like, it was just okay. It wasn't awful, but it was just all right. It just felt like it was kind of the same thing again, like 2, except not as entertaining. So, the Sleepaway Camp franchise, not a bad track record. I love the first one, love the second one, the third one's okay. And again, haven't seen Return to Sleepaway Camp, which I hear is bad, but I love the first 3. I think that they're so good. I mean, I think the first 2 are so good, the third one's alright. Really love them overall. Like, I'll watch all 3 of them in a row, no matter what, even though I don't like the third one as much. I think they're still great watches, especially the first 2. So that's my number 5. And my number 4 would be the Psycho franchise. Now, this one is a very interesting franchise. I love how all these sequels, like after the first one, I love the first one. Of course, everybody does. But I love the second one just as much. And I know that's something where people would be like, what, you like that just as much as the original? Yes, I do. I think the second one is... literally, I think that's the most underrated horror movie I've ever seen, because that just, everything about that movie is incredible. I love the fact that Norman Bates goes back 22 years later, to his house where he lived with Mother, and then he starts getting hallucinations like she's coming back. But then you realize that Lila Loomis, Vera Miles from the first movie, the sister of Marion Crane, she is messing with him while she's got a daughter, Mary, who goes and kind of seduces Norman in a way, but Mary loved Norman in that way. Like, she liked him and they had a great friendship. And, like, I love the fact that, and this is a spoiler for Psycho 2 completely, but Norman's not the killer. I think that's so incredible that he's not even the killer in the movie. And I love that he has these hallucinations, and they do such an incredible job of really not knowing until the last minute of the movie who the killer is. They never give up on who the killer is. And it's not Norman. I love that. And the performances in Psycho 2 are incredible as well. Meg Tilly is great as well as Anthony Perkins. So, and Vera Miles is incredible as well. So I love Psycho 2. I think it's an incredible sequel. And Psycho 3 is really underrated. I like that one a lot. Not as much as the first 2, but I think it's a really good one. I think it actually, on rewatch this last year, I think that it holds up more than I expected. I think it's got an incredible score. I like the characters a lot. I think that the overall plot of 3 is good. I think that it's a good continuation, even though it's not as good as the first 2, but it's still good. As is Psycho 4, which I think it's I like it just as much as 3, where Psycho 3 and 4 fit this, like, continuation of Norman, but it's not as good as the first 2, but they are still very solid. Like, Psycho 4, I love the fact that you get all of Norman's childhood in this, and Olivia Hussey is his mother, and that's great. And Henry Thomas is young Norman, which is great. And I loved all of the flashbacks and reasons to why he became mad, and they're very good, and they're the precursor to the Bates Motel show, which is better, but this is still a great thing with showing Norman's past in Psycho 4. And we've got that Bates Motel TV movie, which is awful, but I don't really count that because it technically counts, but nobody even knows it exists. It's awful. And then the Psycho remake, which Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche and Julianne Moore and Viggo Mortensen and William H. Macy play in this movie, where it's literally shot for shot Psycho original, but in color, with actors who act different than the original. And it's literally almost shot for shot, line for line. Everything is almost exactly the same. Like 95% of the movie is the same movie as the original, which is so pointless. But I can watch it. I think it's so fascinatingly bad, like the Psycho remake. So I think that that's the only real dud besides the Bates Motel TV movie, but that nobody knows about that one. So I really love the first 2. I think 3 and 4 are pretty solid as well, and I think Bates Motel TV show or TV movie is bad, and then the Psycho remake is bad but watchable. So it's a pretty good track record with the first 4 Psycho movies. That I love this franchise, and I could rewatch them a lot. So that's why Psycho is my number 4, fourth best horror franchise. And my number 3 would be the Chucky franchise. Now, I don't hate any of these movies. I think that all of them, even Seed of Chucky, have their entertainment value. I think The first one is great. I think the first one is the most creepiest. Well, that and Curse of Chucky, I guess they're the most creepiest. But like the first one does a good job of establishing what the movie is and what the universe is going to be with Chucky and with Andy. And Catherine Hicks is great. Chris Sarandon is great in the first one. And I really love Child's Play 2. I love how 2 continues on, but it's a little more funnier, but not in a way where it's like Seed of Chucky or Bride of Chucky, but I think it still is really entertaining. And I think that the climax is great in the Toy Factory. I thought all the characters were great. I really like Kyle a lot in Child's Play 2 with Andy. Like, she was a great replacement for Catherine Hicks because they didn't want her back or she didn't come back or whatever. But and Child's Play 3 is, I like it, but I don't like it as much as the first two. I think that it's solid. It's just it's kind of more slow and not as interesting because it's in a military school. I like how it ends up in a carnival. I like the characters, Kristen De Silva and Tyler. Like, I thought they were fine, new characters. And then Bride of Chucky, I love. One of my favorite horror movies ever. I love the style of that movie. I love the humor. I love the kills. I love the characters. I love Jennifer Tilly brought into this franchise, and she is incredible in her first outing. And she's great in all of them, but she's incredible in the first one. And so funny. All the humor lands so well. Love Bride of Chucky. And Seed of Chucky, I don't dislike. I think that it is the worst, quote unquote, but I think it's actually still really funny. I think it's still entertaining. I think that it's what it's trying to be as a comedy. It's not trying to be a horror movie. I mean, it's trying to be a literal comedy. It's about family drama, and I thought that that is an interesting experiment, and I didn't think it was awful at all. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought that it is still watchable and still fun, and I thought it was just ridiculous in a way where I enjoyed it. So Seed of Chucky I enjoy, despite people hating it. And Curse of Chucky I love. I think that that's one of the best in the franchise. I think that it's incredible how Chucky comes back. I think it's incredible how creepy he is. I think it's incredible how we get this backstory between Chucky and Nika, and how we get this full, like, that we never knew about this backstory, and it's incredible, and how it really gave this cool, like, 25th anniversary feel of, like, everything that happened with why Chucky is himself, and it, like, he became the doll and why he ran away from the cops. Like, it explains everything, and I love that. And I think Nika is a great new character. And she's also great in Cult of Chucky, which is the most recent Chucky movie that has come out. And I really love Cult of Chucky. I love the fact that it's in this hospital with Chucky, and I love the fact that all these characters are fun and interesting and quirky, and I thought that Nika is great as well, and I thought Andy was fine as well, even though he's not in the movie that much, but I thought that they did a good job of making a balance between humor and horror. I think it's not as creepy as Curse. It's not trying to be. But it does have a good blend of, like, comedy and horror, and I think that the characters are all interesting and fun, and the kills are brutal and great. I think that it really does work in a lot of ways. So I really do enjoy Cult of Chucky a lot. And the ending, I thought, was really satisfying. So I really love the Chucky franchise, which is my number 3. And now my number 2 would be this is hard to choose between the top 2 because I do love both of these franchises. They are incredibly hard to pick between, but I'd say my number 2 would be the Friday the 13th franchise because I love a lot of these movies. I love the first 6 movies. I think they're so fun, so memorable, such some of the most fun slashers ever. That's the reason why I got into slashers, is because of Friday the 13th, like a lot of people did. The first 6 are awesome. They're all entertaining. They're all fun. Part 5 is actually my favorite because it's just so batshit entertaining and it's just so fun. But I love the first 6, and then 7 is where it's like, I'm kind of on the fence on it, where, like, I like things about it, but then I don't like things about it. Like, I don't like the characters besides Tina, and the kills are neutered. And then Part 8 I really don't like because it's just so stupid and badly acted, and it's not, and I complain of, it's not in New York, and it's not. It's, like, for the last, like, 30 minutes, but still, it at least has the look of, like, the original 7, but, like, it's not that good. It's really bad, the 8th one. And then Jason Goes to Hell, I think, is actually underrated because it does something different in the franchise. But different usually means people hate it, so, for the most part. And Jason X, I think, is really, really bad. It's not entertainingly bad in the way people think, like, in my opinion. Like, I don't think it's very entertainingly bad. I think it's just a bore and a dud. And then Freddy vs. Jason, I think, is really fun and really solid, and I think it's a great popcorn movie. And the remake, I really don't like. Besides Killer Jason, like Derek Mears is badass in that role, but like everything else, I don't really care for. I don't care for the characters. I don't care for the other kills. I just like the brutality of Jason. Like, I think he's good, and Derek Mears is great in the remake, but everything else, I didn't care about these characters. And people make the argument, oh, they're not as good as the other ones, and I guess I could agree with that, but I just like the other characters in the other movies more. For some reason or the other. I just like them more. But yeah, the remake was just, again, it was just kind of really forgettable. Honestly, I'd prefer the Nightmare on Elm Street remake to this remake. So, controversial opinion, but I think that too. So the Friday franchise, I love a majority of them. There are just a couple that are really bad or duds. So this is one that's really infinitely rewatchable. And my number one best horror franchise would be very cliched of an answer, but the Halloween franchise, because I love the original one is my favorite horror movie. I think it's just everything about it. It's so infinitely rewatchable. I've seen it so many times that I can remember everything about it right now, like, and not seen it for a while. And I really enjoy a lot of the sequels. I really love Halloween 2. I think Halloween 2 is a great follow-up. I think it's just as creepy. I think or not just as creepy, I think it's very creepy and effective in a lot of ways like the first one. The only thing that I have a problem with is Laurie and Loomis aren't in it that much. But the people who are there to get killed are entertaining like cannon fodder to be killed. And I like the hospital setting a lot. I love the score. The score is incredible. I love the kills, the gore. Like, it's not like the first one. It's an 80s slasher, but it's so fun. And Halloween 3 I love too for being just an original idea, an original creepy B-movie type movie, and it's so fun. And Halloween 4 I really love too because I love Rachel Carruthers and I love Jamie. I think they're great final girls, and I think the kills are great. The thrills are great in the movie. I think that this is one of the best sequels out of all of them, one of the best. And Halloween 5, I don't really like that much. It's got things I like, but things I really don't like. And Halloween 6 is the same. It's a beautiful movie, Halloween 6, but it's got a lot of weird performances and a lot of just neutered. The film was very neutered and like broken down by producers that wanted like 14-year-old boys that hated the movie to like redo it and make it flash cut, jump cut bullshit. Like, they made it really stupid in the theatrical cut. And the producer's cut is more of a fluid movie, but it's got a worse ending, I think. So Halloween 6 is a really mixed bag like 5. And then H2O I love. I love Jamie Lee Curtis back in that movie, and I love her performance. The characters are totally fine. The kills are alright. And I think that the ending is one of the best endings in the franchise. And Resurrection is the only one I hate. But there's still things I can give it. Like, I can give the Michael Myers is effective. I think that the score is fine. I think that the final girl is alright, even though she has some bad acting moments. But everything else is really just stupid and lame. But it's not, like, it's one of the worst sequels, but it's definitely the worst sequel in the franchise, but it's just, I don't know, like, I can still watch it. It's just bad. Like, it's insulting, but it's watchable. It's weird to say. But because I'm such a big fan of this franchise, I can rewatch all of these, even Resurrection. And Rob Zombie's remakes, Halloween 1 and 2, I think they're both effective movies in terms of gore, both of them, but I think they suffer from being too stupid redneck dialogue with like annoying-ass characters that are there, and I understand his intention, Rob Zombie, to make these characters unlikable, to make Michael more likable, but I felt like it ruined it. I felt like this too cartoonishly over the top with how vulgar and stupid they are. Like, I don't care about vulgarity, I'm fine with that, but it's just like, it's so over the top where it's just so stupid and cartoony. And the first one, I think, has a great ending. I think the first Rob Zombie Halloween has a cool continuous ending to the first one. Like, it goes on after the first one ends. I think that's great. I think the last thing that happens in the movie where Laurie shoots Michael, or shoots him, she screams and freaks out, is one of the coolest endings in any of the films. And Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I love Laurie Strode. I love her downfall. I love her descent into madness. I love the fact that she is losing it, and after 2 years after the events of the first Rob Zombie Halloween, and Scout Taylor Compton is incredible in Halloween 2. But that also suffers from stupid redneck dialogue, and I think that the kills are great, but I feel like it's got a lot of stupid things in it as well. So Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is dumb in a lot of ways, but I love a lot of things about it, just like the first Rob Zombie Halloween. And Halloween 2018, I think, is a very, very effective sequel, and it ignores every other film. And I think Jamie Lee Curtis, again, like H2O, is incredible. It's very well done. Very great performance. Love her in that movie as well. And I love the new characters. I love Allison. I thought Karen was good. I thought that the other characters were kind of just cannon fodder, but they weren't. But like the point of the movie, I thought was more interesting was Laurie Strode angle and Allison angle and like Karen and like all three of them over years of like trauma affecting Laurie Strode, then her daughter, then her granddaughter. I love that storyline, and I love Michael Myers' kills in this. He's really effective, really brutal. James Jude Courtney is one of the best Michael Myers. Hopefully, if we get a sequel, and I feel like we're gonna, he has to come back. He's so incredible in this movie. So great. He's just such a great. He's almost as great as Nick Castle in a lot of ways, where he's a different kind of Michael Myers, but he's incredible. And I love the ending. I thought the ending was great. I thought that even though, of course, we're going to get a sequel, whatever, I thought that the ending was great. I thought it was great to, spoiler alert for Halloween 2018, I thought it was good that they all three lived and they all made it through their trauma. Even though, of course, he's probably going to come back, whatever. But I loved Halloween 2018. So that's why Halloween is my #1 horror franchise, because it just, everything about all these films, even Resurrection, which is really terrible, it's got some things about it I can enjoy, like Michael Myers, or the score, or the main girl. Like, it's still fine. It's just got a lot of insulting things to it, but I really love this franchise, and I can rewatch any of them, even Resurrection, anytime. Friday the 13th, I don't want to rewatch every one of them. I don't want to rewatch Jason X or Part 8 most of the time either. So that's why Halloween is my #1, because it's the most rewatchable for me. It's the most entertaining for me. And Friday the 13th was close, but it was, there were a couple that I didn't like as much as the Halloween ones. So that's my top 10 best horror franchises that, in my opinion, I think are just fun and entertaining. So thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me down below what your top 10 favorite horror franchises are, or make a video about it, or whatever. So thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.